I have been so nervous to do this. And I don't know why. Well, I think that's a lie. I do know why. Because I've restarted before. And I did not have the systems or the support built in to sustain creating this podcast again or creating episodes again. But, you know, when it comes to a vision that you have and a message that you want to share and a community that you want to create, it doesn't matter how many times you fall. It only matters how many times you get back up. And that is part of the Black in the Saddle story and the meaning behind the name. If you haven't watched the episode Getting Black in the Saddle, you can hear more about what the name means to me. But it's time to start this conversation again. It's time to connect with my community again. And I'm nervous, but I am super excited to be here. My name is Aubriana, and I am the creator of Black in the Saddle. Since 2019, I've been telling stories about Black equestrians in this industry, different disciplines, different ages, different identities, different geographic locations. We've been talking about it all. And as much as I love telling these stories, I also have craved something new. Another thing I thought was that someone else would start having these conversations again, and then I wouldn't have to. But we all know that that's not true. I don't know why I thought that, because what we have been able to create here has been so super special. So in this episode, I want to bring us back to where we started, bring us forward into where we're going, and talk about how it'll be a little different, and how I am working to make it so that everyone, including myself, gets the most out of this work and really enjoys listening and participating and learning with this community. So 2019, Black in the Saddle was not even Black in the Saddle. It was Young Black Equestrians. And if you go all the way back to the beginning of our podcast, I say our because I used to have a co-host, but if you go back to the very beginning, you will witness the growth. I had someone in a meeting recently say, yeah, I was just watching the first episode and I was like, girl, what? Please spare me the details. But she was like, no, I appreciate seeing your growth and seeing the origins and seeing how it all started. So in going through this reboot and understanding what I want this podcast to mean to me again, I went back and listened. And simply had to borrow confidence and borrow energy from 2019 me. This podcast was called Young Black Equestrians, and it was named that because I was in a space where, you know, I was around elders and it felt like they kept trying to like sun me. Like, oh, you're young and you don't know nothing. And I'm like, well, actually, which is one of my favorite things to say. Well, actually, yes, I'm a youngin and I know quite a bit. I appreciate wisdom and I will accept it. But also going into the future, we have to be ready and willing to listen to new voices, different voices, and from people from different backgrounds. So that was like the energy that came with 2019. And then we had the racial reckoning in 2020. And so there was a lot of like, we are here, okay? We are here. We have stories to tell. The South got something to say. Except it wasn't just the South. It was everybody. Black horse people in general. And I interviewed over 85 people. 85 horse people from different backgrounds. I like to say from a 15-year-old barrel racer to a 65-year-old mounted archer. Some crazy, crazy disciplines and backgrounds and different levels of engagement in the horse industry. And it was super dope. I mean, there are over 100 episodes for you to listen to right now. So if this is the first one that you are exposed to, baby, we have a catalog, all right? There is a catalog. You should go check that out. But moving forward, I'm like, okay, some of the things that I never quite shared with the community, or some people knew who were closer to me, but many people did not, was that I was producing the podcast by myself, editing video, mix mastering any audio that was created, any intro music, all that stuff I made. Doing the social posts, going live for the community every week. I was doing all of that while being a full-time caregiver for my grandfather. And it took a lot out of me. And I was also trying to run my business, Black Unicorn Creative. And so after a while, you know, I was burnt out. And I do believe that I'm going to do an episode on burnout and what that looks like when it comes to engaging with horses and building a career in this industry, or simply setting goals if you have a horse that you work with a lot. But anywho, there was a lot going on. I look back, when I was looking back and researching old episodes, I said, okay, wait a minute. You know, I tried to come back at the end of 2023. Why did that not work? There's a little session called the warm-up session. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just do something that's real quick. It'll be 15 minutes and I will, you know, psych myself up to show up again. But that didn't happen. That did not happen. So I have done a lot of reflection onto, you know, what this work means to me and what this calling means, how I continue to feel called to hold space for conversation for people in this industry, because I'm simply not satisfied with what's out there. And I know there's got to be other people who either feel excluded from the conversation or just feel like there's not a lot of depth to it. And I just want to be the space for that. When I had Young Black Equestrians, the pillars were passion, culture, and lifestyle. And I don't necessarily think a lot of those have changed. I just think that there is a depth to those pillars and what the conversations mean that I want to explore a little bit more. I also had a hard time feeling like I was just complaining about everything. And I'm like, how can you create a conversation and talk about different observations, but not be the complainer, not be the critic, not be someone who's always talking about the problems? I think that approaching that going forward is by targeting conversations that or targeting conversations or topics or people who can bring depth to a perspective and offer it in a way that is entertaining, because, you know, some of the people I've interviewed, I have become such good friends with, tell stories of their growth and their process. Oh my goodness. Go away, little dog. Back to what I was saying. People who bring depth to the conversation, you know, whether it be like things that are research-based or data-backed or, you know, all the nerdy stuff that I like, okay? Because deep down inside, I'm a nerd, all right? And I think that in today's media landscape, we center the identities of Black cowboys as, you know, the primary topic of conversation. As much as I love it, I'm just interested in more. Like, I want more. I want depth. I want to understand what our conversations or how our conversations would be different if we are centering the horse in that. Who are we with the horse? Who are we in the industry? Who are we in a conversation that allows us to be more than the forgotten? Who do we get to become when we are more than the forgotten? That's interesting to me. I'm nervous about this work because I want to balance what you are interested in, what listeners are interested in, what conversations y'all feel like are still like not having, or maybe you don't even think about it like that. I've also thought about that. Like, you know, sometimes people just want to hear you yap. And they're not expecting a dissertation. And that is something that I have to manage. That is a expectation that I have to manage because I'm an overachiever and a recovering perfectionist. All right. But having to manage what conversations or topics listeners are interested in and what I'm interested in talking about. I think that's one of the things that would also make this very much sustainable for me, is to get excited about what I am talking about again, and to cover topics that are not only, you know, hot topics right now, because I'm not really, you know, interested in trends, but I am interested in depth. And I am interested in fulfilling the needs for community that a lot of people have. This podcast was never a part of my business model as a revenue generating entity. However, in looking back, I realized despite it not being me never looking at it that way, it cost me a lot. There was a lot that I mean, just paying to keep it hosted. You know, I have shelled out a considerable amount of funds to keep this going, and not even just funds, but time and energy, and the way that this is going to work this go round. I'm approaching it a little bit different. I'm approaching it like this is not a hobby. I'm approaching this Black in the Saddle, producing this podcast, like it is part of my business. Like it is so intentional and strategic that it is connecting me with brand partners that would help me create experiences for my audience. I want to see people in person. And I know we've been talking about this for a long time. Like, oh my gosh, it initially was framed like in the pandemic. Like, ooh, I would love to see y'all once we get out of this panorama. But now we're out of it. Air quotes for those of you who are not watching me. We're out of it. And I have spent a considerable amount of time and money meeting people in person because I met them through the podcast and they became such important people to me. And I just want to continue to foster that. I will drop some examples because I love these people and I'm just so thankful for their continued community and them, you know, seeing me and challenging me and encouraging me. I went to Thailand, okay? Thailand, country in Asia. I went to Thailand to meet my friend Robert Bowden, who's been in Tennessee majority of the time that I've known him, okay? Tennessee, yeah, the state right next to North Carolina, which where I reside. I went all the way to Thailand to meet a friend that lived in Tennessee for most of our friendship because he said, all you have to do is get here and I will take care of you. And I was at the point where I needed someone to take care of me. And I'm not going to cry. I'm not, okay? We had a grand old time. We had a grand old time. If you have not been to Thailand, you need to go. But even being in Thailand, one thing that I realized is that I will always find a horse, okay? Whether it was in imagery, in art, or in real life, walking on the beach, I saw an akolteke, okay? It was glimmering in the sun. And I was like, what are the odds to see one of these horses that I've only seen in pictures, in person, just chilling, walking on the beach with his rider. Didn't get a chance to interact with him, but also going to an island and seeing horses through the jungle and being like, what is that? Who is there? What do they do there? Could not stop because we were being bounced around in the back of a pickup truck with our luggage. But that's neither here nor there. But it's experiences like that that are like, I get to do this with my people. I get to do this with my friends that I met through this podcast. I just went to a conference with Renata, met her through Black in the Saddle. She is also professionally in the leadership development space, just like me. We were able to pour into each other as we pursue entrepreneurship in such a deep way. And I just miss that so much. My friend Kim, she has Ohana Farms in Virginia, and she has been part of many conversations that I've had, not only professionally as a equine assisted services provider, but I was about to drop some goods. I'll just go ahead and say it. In the conference planning committee, she has offered so much insight and perspective, and we have shared from professional and personal point of views just how we are navigating this industry. Her being post-retirement and supporting her daughters in this industry, and me just wanting to soak it up and know what's possible and know what people are interested in and hearing different perspectives, because I don't want to just be in my own head and imposing my own perspective on what is created. So being able to just get together with those people and plan for just dope experiences, that is what is so interesting to me. That's what fascinates me. And honestly, I thought it would have been created without me. And maybe it is. Maybe it exists somewhere, but it's just not something that I've seen yet. And that's what I want to be able to create for y'all. So I think I want to wrap this up by saying I am so thankful. If you've gotten this far, I'm so thankful for you to still be here with me. I am working on not being afraid to say what I need. What I need to keep this going is your input. What do you want to hear? What do you have questions about? What are you curious about? How do you want to grow within the horse industry? How do you want to show up differently for your horse? Does it look like more solo episodes where I'm just breaking down my perspective on different things? Or are there some people that you want to hear from? I think my perspective on interviews has changed a little bit. Initially, or in the past, they have been just vignettes, ask the same questions just to get different, the differences in the answers that people provide. But the questions were pretty much the same. It was really part of that Uncover series. Now I want interviews to be a little bit more targeted. We will be talking about a particular subject and then getting exposed to the guest's life and perspective through that context or through that lens. I just need to know what you want. My goal is to meet halfway. What I am interested in talking about and what you want to see who you want to hear from, and just having a grand old time doing it. A couple of things that are coming up for us very soon is number one, which is probably the most important thing, is the launch of the Patreon. If you know Black in the Saddle, if you have been connected with us in the past, you know that I love hosting conversations and facilitating conversations. So we have had panels and webinars and different virtual things that have been so helpful. We had a virtual series called Diversity on Horseback back in 2020 or 2021, where we heard from Nashawn Cook and Brittany Chambers and one other person, I can't remember. We had a panel on collegiate equestrian sports, and we had like 6 or 7 coaches from D1 equestrian teams talking about what it takes to produce that kind of athlete, a kind of athlete that is attractive to D1 coaches. And we talked about the difference between D1 teams and ISHA and all of those different things. Like, that was so valuable to a lot of the parents who have kids who are so interested in this industry, but aren't sure how to maximize that interest and support them and get more involved. Those are the kinds of things that require a significant time and energy investment. And I want to make sure the people who are pouring back into the Black and Saddle community are the ones that are benefiting from that. So there will be some free things. There will be some things that are behind the Patreon. But I want to do community, and I want to do it differently. You know, there was a Facebook group, Black in the Saddle had a Facebook group that had 400 members in it, and it did not fulfill me. It didn't fulfill me because, you know, I was asked to hold this space, but there was just no engagement in it. And it was confusing and caused me a lot of anxiety. So we're trying community differently. It'll be through Patreon. There'll be more information about that coming up. Another thing that's going to be coming up is in-person experiences and meetups. Please, 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 if you are not already, subscribe to our newsletter, because I've actually been talking on the newsletter a little bit more than I ever post on social media, because the newsletter to me is people who have already opted in. They've already said, hey, I'm willing to engage with you on a more intimate level by allowing you to send me emails. And that is something that I appreciate. So the goods come from my email. All right. There are a couple of in-person things that I am working on for the fall and winter, especially because I have the beautiful opportunity to travel for work. And I want to make sure that I am connecting with people who enjoy being in community with other Black horse people, with other Black horse folk. Okay. Cross-discipline, cross generations, we have got to come together and learn from one another. So join the email list, follow us on socials, follow us on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. We're going to have a good old time. What else do I have to tell you? Patreon, doing events, virtual and in person, traveling with community, right? You know, y'all know I'll get on a plane in a hot second. So, or in a car, all right? I'll burn the road up. But just talking to the people that I get to see and just learning more about their perspectives, because we all have so much to offer the conversation about what it means to be in this industry and what it means to love the things that we are all here for, right? The horses. You know, I want to lean into education a little bit, because I see that people are interested in this lifestyle, but they get into it and they get in over their head, and the horses are the ones that suffer the consequences. So how can we better prepare people? There's no one that I'm going to turn away from this work. I literally write children's books about little black cowgirl, a little black cowgirl, because I want more people to be more interested in this work. But how do we prepare them to get into this in a sustainable way? And I do not subscribe to the beliefs, I believe words mean things. And so when you're saying things like horses burn money up, if you want to be a millionaire in horses, you got to start with $2 million. Like, that is such ick energy to me. I can't subscribe to that language. So I want to prepare people for what to expect. And I just want to support them in their visioning and in their desire to be closer to these animals, right? So, yeah, education is a huge part of that. I'm going to wrap up this episode by saying thank you. Thank you for still rocking with me. Thank you for still supporting me through my anxiety and my call outs on Facebook. Like, what do y'all want to hear? What do y'all, I don't know. I'm going to send out a survey. I literally just posted that. I just appreciate you. I appreciate the people who are just constantly supporting this vision, no matter what that looks like, through the breaks and through the moments of lack of belief or lack of motivation or lack of discipline. That's going to be in that burnout episode, okay? I appreciate you, and I hope that you continue to rock with me, because I am reinvigorated and I am planning ahead, and I am making sure that the conversations that I get to have here are meaningful and are special and are what y'all are interested in. Wherever you are listening, wherever you are watching this, check the words attached to this file, attached to this audio or video, to connect with us via our email list. I say us, me, myself, and I. Connect with me via email. Stay tuned for additional episodes, because Black in the Saddle is back. She never left. We never left, but we're here again. And yeah, I appreciate you. All right. See you next time.